Well, good afternoon. I'd like to call the July meeting of the Parks Commission to order. First thing on the agenda, we've got, first off, we have a quorum present. Looks like we've got a full commission present. 2, 3. Well, pretty close. Let's begin with citizen communications. I have a card this afternoon from Bud Oliver, who would like to address the commission relating to item number 4 of the agenda, which is the YMCA item. Mr. Oliver, if you'd like to, is he here?
Tim.
Okay.
Well, that was for the presentation that we have a little bit later on the agenda. It says YMCA presentation, I believe, item number 4. I believe that was what Mr. Oliver was going to be speaking to.
You're going to talk, you're going to present?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm
Yes,
sorry. That's fine. Well, anyone else, any other members of the public, even members of the public who are also members of the Parks Commission staff or the city staff that want to address the commission can certainly do so. But nobody's raising their hand, so we'll go on to item C on the agenda. Approval of the minutes. The minutes are attached to the packet that you've received last week.
There are some things that weren't recorded.
You have some corrections you'd like to make? If you-
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Again, on the other business, last meeting, I requested that all commissioners would be shared with the parks list, the PARC list, the list that Jason and I have been working on, well, since you got here, and it's an accumulative of my service here as a Parks Commissioner. I wanted to share those items with the commissioners. And you agreed that we would do that and that you would send out a list, but it got recorded incorrectly on the minutes, and nothing was sent out to follow up with that from last time
Okay.
regarding that.
Yeah, no, I apologize for not having that added on here. We do have printouts for everybody that we're currently getting off of the printer, so we can hand out to you. And then we have some discussion that we're able to take on that particular item during the Parks and Recreation update.
Okay, but we didn't have any items to review before this meeting, so it kind of makes it hard for us to discuss items that no one has got to review. You know what I mean?
Okay, noted.
Okay, and also on this other business, we discussed at length the need for a city pool, and that didn't make it on the other business agenda item. Like, it didn't make it to the report.
It didn't make it to the minutes or to this current agenda?
It didn't make it on the report for last week, for last meeting.
And didn't make it on the minutes.
Yeah, it's not listed on the minutes, and we had a lengthy discussion about it.
Okay, so we can make that change and correct it.
Is there some reason why these aren't getting listed? Because this is the third time that I've asked for the parks list to be on the agenda and that everyone, and look, it's handed to me now.
Yes,
This-
ma'am, that's what I
this
just said.
parks
It was
list.
off the printer.
So, yeah, but we kind of wanted to review this beforehand.
No, I understand, it's my fault. Yeah, apologies for that. You have it in front of you. If you have any questions about it, you're more than welcome to discuss it during the Parks and Recreation update.
Let's take that up during the update, and for purposes of what's before the commission right now is the changes to the minutes. Jessica, do you think did you capture those changes? Okay. Does everybody understand what the changes were to the minutes? Do you have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, good. We will move on to, other business. And we've got several items, it looks like here. Item D1, park signage discussion.
Yes, so good evening, Commission. We have half associates. We have Mr. Aaron Cooper online with us. There he is in the screen above you or behind you or in front of you, however it works. You may recall, Aaron Cooper was part of the Half Associates team that worked on our Parks and Recreation Master Plan. So he's very familiar with the city of Victoria as it relates to our Parks and Recreation Master Plan. We've had multiple discussions, city staff has had multiple discussions with Aaron and his team just about some of the other assignments that we have, for our projects, some that would in regards to the dog park sign, the duck pond sign, and then just the park entry signage. We had spoke to the commission a couple meetings back about engaging with HAF about those entry signs and those secondary signs. So with all that being said, we have Aaron Cooper on the line. He's here to chat with the commission a little bit about those signs and I believe potentially location. So I'll just hand it over to Aaron and let him take it away.
All right, thank you, Jason. Yeah, it's good to see everybody again. It's been a while since we did the Parks Master Plan update, but it's good to see those efforts have resulted in some updates to the parks and improvements. So as Jason had mentioned, we've been asked to look at the signage throughout Riverside Park and how people are going to navigate and find their way around Riverside Park. And one of the more pressing sign issues within the park is the dog park. As you know, the dog park is under construction. There have been funds raised very recently and very successfully for the production of some bricks to be incorporated into the entrance and sign for the dog park. So what I'm going to show you today is the very first blush. There will be one image that you may have seen before out of that parks plan, which has gotten some pretty good feedback from city staff. So I'll show that one and then a couple others. But this is just kind of us throwing some stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks with y'all and seeing if y'all have any strong feelings towards one or the other or two or three. But yeah, without any further ado, I'm going to share my screen here. Can you all confirm that you can see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, so this image y'all have potentially seen before. We helped put together some marketing imagery, and there wasn't a sign yet for the dog park construction documents. So this, is a very traditional kind of column. It would have some masonry veneer at the bottom with some brick on top of the veneer, and then a really nice big arch connecting the two columns for people to walk through, and really creating that really formal sense of entry. And talking with the manufacturers of the bricks, it sounds like they're going to be a pure clay-based brick, which should be appropriate for a masonry facade like we're showing in this image. So what we can call this just option A. We've got a second option, and this one's a lot more kind of contemporary, and this is really just using limestone veneer on all of these columns. And having sort of a slightly taller one that could maybe have a plaque on it. And then the bricks would be used potentially as sort of this threshold running along the length of that entry. So it's sort of like a physical object that you're passing across on your way into the park. And then C is pretty modern as well. It could be brick along the base of these columns. There could be cast stone, which could also be engraved. If bricks haven't been produced, maybe there's an option to have a different material engraved. Potential for other plaques, embellishments on these columns. But this one's a bit more geometric, more contemporary. Still having that very grand sense of entry with the overhead beam with Riverside Park across the top. But really, these are just 3 shots in the dark.
Can we see number
there's
one?
no particular theme that needs to be followed. But with this, we will probably be setting the theme of wayfinding signage throughout Riverside Park. So we can combine anything that you've just seen or produce something entirely different. But this is y'all's park and y'all's vision, and I'm just a instrument to help reach it. So
Can we see number one again?
yeah, of course. May help if I zoom in a hair here too. I know y'all's screens are big, but make it a little bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Which one do you like best?
I like number one. I think you have the bricks on the pillars that we could incorporate, Izzy's vision into, as well as, down the center line of it. My thing, just thinking about dogs, is the egress, the entrance and exit. If you have a bunch of dogs going back and forth, you get them in a tight space, that could be an area for conflict. So I wonder about, they all kind of look similar is how that egress works through. But as far as design, I'm personally partial to number one.
Is this number one?
Yes.
Okay, I like number one as well. The only thing that I would change is Izzy's plaque, since that would cover up the brick names. I would move that plaque to be its own.
Standalone.
Or, yes. Have the bricks closed, or can they still be purchased?
I saw on Facebook that they closed maybe several days ago.
Okay.
So maybe we need to find out how many bricks there are, because I know on our initial plan, we were talking about putting them on the columns and not on the ground, So maybe we need to find out how many they are so that we can allot for.
What's our timeline to get the entry done? When are we thinking about starting the entryway of this?
We would love to be able to have construction documents in hand by, let's just say, first part of August,
Okay.
maybe mid-August, so that way we can get construction completed by sometime in October.
When I was in third grade, they put in the children's park, and that's when they did the bricks all along the pathways, which we know, that settles over time. I mean, they held up for a pretty good amount of time. We're talking about 30 years, right? But those bricks, they were $20 back then. They're really cool because you have this piece of being in the park, but we were able to purchase them through the school, and that could really promote these brick cells. So if they were able to reopen them, we could probably even get more bricks.
Well, I think from the last time that I spoke with Mrs. Drain, and Kimberly, correct me if I'm wrong, she had a pretty substantial amount of bricks sold.
Okay.
Aaron, I know you had spoken with her late last week. Did she give you a number on where she was at by chance?
I spoke to her about an hour ago.
There you go.
They're at about 350 bricks right
That's
now.
awesome.
But they have not closed it, I don't believe. But she was saying that, I need to close that because it was a very successful campaign.
Aaron, how many bricks would you anticipate you could put on, the columns in this design?
Are you just putting them on the face?
If we're talking about both faces, it's like all four sides. Yeah, we're probably right at that 350 capacity. We've been planning for 200. So, we can run some quick studies and see how that might affect the current size of these columns.
But
Like that limestone veneer might have to go away.
you wouldn't want to put them on all four sides, would you? Because you couldn't read the ones on maybe you could read the front and the back, but not the
Right.
sides.
It'd be hard to read, yeah, this side in particular.
Just
If
another.
there's no metal banding here, they could be there.
Was there any talk about using the maypole as a place to put those bricks too?
Yeah, that's not listed on this diagram. It's not illustrated.
So the maypole is existing, correct?
Right.
So it could be used as a paver around that, maybe like a big ring of pavers for like a formal kind of walkway with seating around it or something like that.
Yes.
And then there was also part, speaking of Ashley's point to the sign, of putting a memorial sign inside the park as opposed to on the face of the park. Is that still just in flux?
Yeah, I mean, we can go whatever route we'd like to go with this. The one comment I was going to make is kind of along the same lines of what you just mentioned, Commissioner, is that if we want to go ahead and move that memorial sign away and off of those columns, that gives it another opportunity for yet another column, right, to be made. So you can, in essence, use those bricks for that particular area as well. Just another option to use some of those bricks up.
And I also think this commissioner made a great comment on the entrance and exit. Just walking dogs on the path and encountering other dogs can get quite trying at some times. So other dog parks that I've seen have entrances way far away from each other for big dog, little dog, so they don't cross each other's path.
This looks really nice, though. I mean, it really does. It looks great.
It is pretty.
And those benches, those could be made out of the bricks as well.
True.
It could, yeah.
I like it.
Aaron, to what you mentioned briefly that something about, the signage for the entire park system. Is this would be sort of starting us down a particular path in that regard? In other words, your
Yes.
future design work would kind of hinge off of this?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we were going to look at everything all together, but because of the urgency to get this one done, we're kind of fast tracking it,
Right.
and it would be kind of setting the tone of all the other signage.
Okay.
Because you may recall, and Aaron, you may be able to help me out with this one, but in the master plan, we had that primary and that secondary sign. In that was kind of what Aaron had showed, one that has more of an arch and one that's a little flatter that's just straight across the top. I don't know how that would affect the secondary signage, Aaron. Are you looking at just keeping just the font and the color scheme, or how would this primary signage work on that secondary signage?
Materials.
So
and
part of our scope is that we'll need to confirm, what kind of signage are we talking about, because many people enter Riverside. There's 3 different main entrances, right? And that's more of a vehicular entrance. So there's like that really large scale signage. What does that look? Does it have an overhead arch? All those types of things. But also as the vehicle goes through Riverside, it comes to say a stop sign. And what sort of directional information are you seeing there? So there's this primary and secondary for vehicles. There's primary and secondary for pedestrians. There's actual signage for different uses within Riverside Park, potentially, is what this is really assuming. Because Riverside is such a large park, and it's almost as if there are several parks within. You've got the Rose Garden, you've got the Bark Park, you've got the 2 different peninsulas, the disc golf courses. So it's like you'll have parks within the park. So this could be, that type of secondary signage where it's sort of defining that use area. The duck pond, which is being renovated. So I would imagine that whatever we're looking at here, whatever happens here would be replicated at the the duck pond, the rose garden, potentially, the different peninsulas. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have
I hope
any
that answers your
examples
question.
of your secondary signs?
No, we haven't done any of that yet. We just knew that this was a hot button, so we wanted to jump on this one first.
So your secondary signs would be like the entrance to Grover's Bend and Fox's Bend and...
Correct. Yes, ma'am. So the thought behind that secondary signage was, like you said, the kind of those smaller amenities, and then even like your neighborhood parks. We could use some of that for the neighborhood parks because you don't have necessarily like a primary entryway like you do with Ethel E. Tracy or with Ted B. Reed. Those are our larger parks. Even Hopkins Park to an extent has, a primary entryway. So yes, we would be looking at both that primary and that secondary.
Well, as a matter of giving Aaron a sense of whether he's on the right track or not on the right track. I don't know that we need to vote, because I don't know that there's actually a motion that we would have. I think what you're looking for, Aaron, is just some general direction. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And Jason, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we're looking for, some sort of response of, we like this one, and generally, don't show that one to anybody outside of this room. But eventually, we'll be taking this to council to kind of show them, like, okay, well, here's 3 concepts for your feedback. And I think that, Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, but the council will be making the final call on thematic kind of development of the signs.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Did they officially name it Riverside Bark? Like, we're done with that? Like, the city council had to approve that too, the name?
We haven't gotten to that point of the naming, but
Okay.
it's been more of a head nod with Riverside Bark, and so that's what
Okay.
we've been putting on everything, just to have that continuity.
We had a long meeting here for the naming of,
Yes.
Would it be the purpose
We
of
had a
council
few
to kind of?
meetings on that one, and we all, I mean, each meeting, it was like a different deciding factor. So like, it was like, we named it, and then we went back at it, and then it was renamed, and it's like, well, it's really not up to us anyways, they said, because it comes down to city council will make that decision.
if you Google Riverside Bark, several parks come up, but I think it's all in a Google listing, like you just tag it Victoria, and
Yeah.
you should be okay with that name.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of parks called Riverside Park too, and so like you said, it's just a matter of tagging it to Victoria or, VTX or however we want to tag it to Victoria. But yes, I mean, I think Commissioner Keeling, what we're looking for is, like Aaron said, just recommendations. What do you like about it? What do you not? Very similar to the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, where we came up with the concepts for Riverside and Ethel Lee Tracy and MLK. Just tell us what you like or what you don't like. If there's something that we need to change, let's look at changing it now. If you don't like the bands, I mean, let's talk about that. Commissioner McGee, you had mentioned, the signage, getting that signage off. So all those little details are the things that we would like to know, and how you feel. That way it can hopefully it makes Aaron's life easier on the back end.
Yeah, and maybe that memorial to Izzy could be like front and center at your gated area, and then maybe even inside the park around that maypole or something, if you're gonna make that a special area. And Mr. Aaron, if you've talked to Mr. Rain today, and she said she's got 350 bricks, is that why you made the space down in the front of the entryway to like cover the rest of that brick space? I'm trying to look
No,
over
no.
here at you and you're on the computer.
Sure, no. So yeah, I think you're talking about, this
Yeah,
area in here.
yes.
No, that's not why we added that, but we did want to show, some material ties just to bring ground plane to vertical plane. We like doing that, right? Just kind of trying to stick to the same material themes. It just so happens that, yeah, we could use them there.
Did the
Depending on
Durains
how many
have?
there are at the end of the day.
Can I see number 3, please?
Yeah.
And did
Let's
Izzy's
see.
family have any direction on where they wanted the bricks?
No, ma'am. And you'll have to correct me because it's been a while too, Kimberly, but we had conversation with them. Originally, she was talking about laying the bricks on the ground, and then we brought up the maintenance deal and just that conversation. And so they were pretty much okay with adding it to the columns. I believe we made that suggestion to them from one of the commissioner's suggestions, and they were okay with that. Their biggest thing is that they want to have the less amount of maintenance for those bricks as possible.
And so so they'll have the longest longevity.
Absolutely, correct.
Aaron,
Sorry. So I have a couple comments. If we have a say as a commission, I would suggest that we don't show anybody number 2. Can you go back to number 2, please? I think it's lovely. I don't think it looks like Victoria.
Right. It doesn't
I
look like
think it's
Victoria.
maintenance nightmare. But so if we have I would suggest not showing that with anybody, because you said that, Aaron. So,
Yep.
but then going back to number 3, what I want to point out about that one that I like, first of all, number 1, I like the best, But on number 3, I do like the concrete, the textured concrete, colored concrete squares. I think that really, on the horizontal
ground.
plane. So I think that sets off the
Oh.
entry, right, so the entry walkway. And also, I like the black fencing. I think that looks really sharp with the black linear signage. And also, I'm wondering about the Izzy sign, where that girl and that poodle is, somewhere in that vicinity, but maybe on the outside of that, is that, perhaps that's a spot for?
Or right there in the middle.
Right, so
like-
right there in the middle for the Izzy sign. Or another possibility would be, possibly Aaron and Jason would be over to the left or the right, behind one of those seat walls. I mean, one of those, not seat walls, one of those benches. And I'm assuming those benches are probably gonna be stone of some sort. Those benches could be, again, like, so, go back to 1.
Maybe tilt it out
Well,
some.
you know, the sign there's a little bit of an Escher-esque deal. Did you see that? It's not,
Yeah.
the post is kind of behind, but the sign
Yeah.
faces in front, so
Yeah, oh, it is, yeah. Okay, so-
I think that is on the front, though, up front.
I think
Oh,
it-
there it is right there.
Front of the
My
That's what I'm
bad.
saying.
Yeah,
It's-
it's on the
it-
front of the
it
thing,
is
but
on
it
the
looks
front.
like it's back behind there. 'cause I
It
think
looks
you're
like
picking
there's
up that
it
post.
looks like there's a
Oh, there
post
it is.
behind it, but it's, I
I
think
totally
that's,
missed it, but that's okay. I was looking at the dog, the poodle.
Yeah, that might be part of that fence post that's
Oh,
behind
oh,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
sorry,
I like it
I'm
there.
just
There it
now
is.
following
Thanks,
that
Aaron.
this
Yes.
sign is, attached to this horizontal bar.
Oh,
right.
okay. So if we could move that
So
back
it's
to
on
the
the
middle.
exterior of the
Yeah, I like,
pen.
okay, sorry, I didn't even see it, Aaron, my
So do
bad.
you
So
you
that's
like
a
it
little-
better there or less better
I
there?
like it in that
Yeah.
vicinity. I mean, it's just,
Okay.
it's gonna come down to what works with the entranceways, but
Yeah.
somewhere in that vicinity I like. And also, you know, is there an opportunity to use the back side of that signage, or is it just gonna be black? Anything to do, to keep graffiti from happening, so the back side needs to be considered. And then can you go back to 1, please?
Yeah.
I really like the arched signage. I think it is way more inviting. I think that it really opens up the space as you walk in there, especially with the green awning underneath it. Like Ashley said, with regards to if we need to put bricks elsewhere, I think there's an opportunity on both the left and the right flanks where you have those, the seating area. Those could totally be faced out with brick, and then have that concrete cap on there. You're the designer. That could work. You also would have an opportunity, you could do a low wall. I'm pointing on my screen like anybody can see me, but a low wall between the landscape area and the concrete pad on both sides of those seat walls. I call them seat walls, both of those seatings, those benches.
Right?
You could put a freestanding wall on either side of that, which is brick. So basically, you're sitting on that bench, and then you've got that face wall behind you.
I got you.
Just a low 3 feet. So, yeah, in there.
Gotcha.
There you go, Aaron, come on.
Just like, like an L shape or something like that?
Yeah,
Is that what you're thinking?
just a, you know, just
Just a
3 foot
wall.
freestanding wall.
I got you.
Like a backdrop, like a backdrop wall. That's up to designers, but that's another location for that. I like the way the brick with the stone looks, but I have to wonder about maintenance. And with dogs going in and out there with white stone at the bottom. So I just would question that, but I do like the contrast of the columns. So that's what I would add to the discussion.
The bricks that are going to have the names on them, are they going to be these like red color, or are they going to be the regular concrete bricks?
Those don't, the pavers don't look like that.
The pavers, what do the pavers look like? They look like,
I forget the
they're gray,
size, but
right?
they've got 3 lines on them. You can choose 3 lines. I forget the size of the paver.
but they're just gray, like the other ones.
I believe they're a red. They're more of
they're
a
red?
if
Yeah,
I'm not
so the
mistaken.
bricks could be, what I've been told is that they'll be clay, for sure.
Oh, cool.
So they won't be concrete, because apparently the way that they etch, that it just doesn't work with the concrete type bricks. So, yeah, sorry, I got distracted for a second over here. There's some weird noise happening behind me.
Could you
But,
actually,
and I'm not sure what colors are available either. I've reached out to the supplier of the bricks to try and figure that out.
on your next illustration, could you actually put the pavers like there to see instead of just regular bricks? Because I think they're a different size, aren't they? They're bigger than a regular brick.
No, they
don't think
typically
so.
have the same dimensions, like a brick paver versus a masonry brick.
Yeah, they're the same.
You're saying the pavers are the same size as these bricks on these columns?
If we use the same, well, yes, they can be. They might be different, but they can be the same. So you're saying using this specific pattern also here?
Are you asking if it's a scale? Are you asking if the bricks are to scale in the
No,
drawing?
I'm thinking that these bricks right here are much smaller than the pavers, because it seems like the paver would be bigger because there's 3 lines of text on them. So I would have to go to their Facebook post to see what the exact size of the paver is. Does
Just
anybody
like
know that?
I don't think
based
they've
on ones I
actually
currently
decided
have.
on it either yet, right,
Yeah,
Aaron?
the pavers, yeah, they're sold. The size of them is sold.
Right, but they haven't ordered them yet, is what they're saying.
Correct.
So they can put them on a size that we can match.
No, the size is predetermined. You already purchased a predetermined size.
Yeah, but they hadn't bought the bricks.
No, yeah, your color could probably, they can decide on the color, but I'm saying the size of the brick, that we could work with that now. It's a pre-sold size. So we could work out where the 350 of them are gonna go.
Well,
Well, we just have to make sure those match. I mean, that's,
I think we're in the weeds. I think that the bricks are what the bricks are gonna be. As a commission member, I would recommend that the bricks be in the most highly visible locations possible, as at the entry. So that would be the front, and then the inside corners, and then wherever else. So yes, I would also like to request that before it's all said and done, that we see a sketch of where the 350 bricks are gonna be used.
Okay,
So-
and that's exactly what Aaron is working with. That's why he's in contact with Mrs. Drain. That's why he's in contact with our consultant, Brent Luck, with the dog park construction. So all 3 of them are having some conversations, so that way it's, we make sure that we get the right amount of bricks in the right spaces.
One other thing on this illustration, it shows that the back fence is also black, but isn't it silver in reality?
It's not. We can go over that during the update. I can talk with y'all about that, but
Is it installed silver right now, though?
no, ma'am.
Aaron,
Well, the back is, yes, but there's another area that got changed.
Aaron, going back to what she said about that sign, if it was on the front and the back, I really do like that, because if you didn't read it on your way in, you're going to read it on your way out, or I do like the 2-faced signs. I think that's great.
I second that.
anyone else have comments specifically for Aaron?
Oh, this looks like Victoria as well. Like, it keeps it consistent with the entrance signs into the town. It looks like the same thing that's going on in downtown, so it does keep it all consistent. It does look like Victoria, I feel like.
Is there any seating under this shade, this green shade that's here?
Yes, ma'am, there will be. There's only so much that I'm sure Aaron wanted to put on the
Concept
drawing.
drawing. Right.
Yeah, I guess we're not working on the dog park specifically. And this image, really the background of this image had been created.
We're just
6
talking
months ago,
about the
probably.
sign, right?
Yeah.
We're not talking about
Yeah,
what's
correct.
inside?
Correct.
And where the
Correct.
dog wash
Just
station
the
is?
sign.
No.
Great job, Aaron.
Okay.
I like it.
I love it. Looks great.
Thank
You
you.
have some,
Thank you, everyone,
you've
for
got
your
some
feedback.
feedback. You've got good feedback. If you don't have any other questions, and no one else has other feedback for you, then I think we like this option best with some of the concerns expressed.
Yes, and I like Lori's suggestions on the sidewalk in front of it, too. It looks a little more snazzy on C.
Okay, yeah, the checkerboard kind of pattern.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, awesome. We appreciate it. Just so y'all are aware, we're going to work with Aaron just on the comments that, were presented tonight, be able to present some options to city council, and then hopefully by next month, we'll be able to have some final renderings for you to be able to look at and kind of sign off on, just nod the head. So then we should be good to go.
Aaron, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, very much. Appreciate
you.
your
Good
time.
seeing you. Bye-bye.
Good seeing you. Thank you.
Is that what it is? So it'll be cold.
All right.
Okay. Next is item D2, discuss SFC draft.
All right. So
Is that even realistic? I mean,
That's why
I
I want the
saw
feedback.
$40 million. Where would that money even come from?
Well, I mean, that's a really good question. I think, the biggest thing that I would say, the Parks and Recreation Master Plan had a pretty healthy tag for Riverside Park as well. I think it was pretty close to that same amount, quite honestly. It was around $30 to $40 million worth of improvements. Is that realistic? Potentially. But I also think that we would need to have a lot of people that are on board with that. I think if we're going to do something like that, and of course, this is probably a little bit outside of my realm and more, in the city manager's office, but, I believe some of those conversations would just be with other entities that are located here within Victoria to see if there's maybe a partnership opportunity that we're able to combine our efforts with. I think, if you're talking specifically that indoor facility, which I know had the highest price tag, but the other ones, I think they're doable, especially if we're really wanting to invest into sports tourism and really start to see, some positive economic impact with that. I think this is a good starting point, at least to start having those conversations about why we need certain things or why we don't, where we need to focus our efforts. Because, quite honestly, right now, I don't want to say we're winging it, but we kind of are. I mean, we're trying to do the best that we can, but we needed this facilities assessment to come in and help us figure out where exactly we can put our money to make the best efficiencies.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I didn't think there was any payback on anything unless you included the greater, what I consider Houston area, correct?
Well, I mean, I can let Alex speak to that a little bit if you'd like, but I think what they're trying to say is that if we're really wanting to be a sports tourism hub, we can't focus just on local revenue. There's no way that we're going to be able to bring in local revenue that'll sustain that tourism component. And so what they did was look at that market and say, if you can draw people from X amount of hours out, this is what it looks like. And the biggest bang for your buck is that furthest market, which would include some of those metropolitan areas. It doesn't mean that everybody's just going to come here because we have it, but the likelihood of us being able to secure better and bigger events and tourism sporting events is a lot better than what we have now. Because quite honestly, currently, we can't even secure certain events just because of the lack of the facilities that we have, or lack of hotels, or lack of turnaround when it comes to fields. And so that's why there's some suggestions in there that relate to turf versus the grass. The investment's about the same as far as long-term versus short-term, if you look at it, and obviously a bigger investment short-term, but the turnaround on those fields are a lot quicker. We don't have to worry about draining them. We don't have to worry about any of that. So, I mean, there's a lot of back and forth, I guess, that we could go with it, but I guess just really trying to get your input on what you thought of the plan itself. I know it's still in draft form. Alex is our sports tourism manager, so he may be able to, and he's been facilitating that conversation with SFC lately, so he may be able to provide a little bit more feedback, but that's kind of where we're at right now with their recommendations.
Justin, I have a question, because the way I look at it, and I could be totally off base on this, but I see it as we're investing in sports tourism to bring in, we're spending parks and recs and city dollars to invest in sports tourism to try to bring in those people from outside Victoria with attractive facilities to host their events here, as opposed to spending money on the amenities that we have here in Victoria to make them better and increase the amenities for the public here. I almost kind of look at it as adversarial. Am I wrong in looking at it that way, or do you kind of see it as two completely separate buckets?
Well, local and outside is two completely separate buckets.
Right.
So that's the way that I look at it. I mean, do we have the facilities here to be able to host some regional tournaments? Absolutely, because we've been doing it. Do we want to go bigger and better? That's the question. If the answer is yes, then we need to look at what investments we're going to do at what facilities that provide the biggest bang for our buck. What's the best ROI? It doesn't mean that we want to not think about the locals, because quite honestly, any improvements that we do at those facilities are going to enhance the local organizations as well. Maybe even being able to provide better opportunities for them to play on more fields if that's, something that we go down the road of creating more fields, more soccer fields, more baseball fields, or what have you. So to me, while it's all one and the same, to me it's different because our locals are going to be completely different from what we're trying to get on tourism. Does that answer?
Yeah, it does, and I'm guessing the purpose behind pushing so much on sports tourism is Parks and Rec getting the ROI from that, or is it more like the city initiative, the city's looking to get ROI through hotel tax and all that kind of stuff, or is it that Parks and Rec thinks, hey, if we have these facilities, we can charge more for the facilities, which brings more money back into the Parks and Rec budget? What's the push behind it?
It's all of the above.
Yes,
And I hate to sound like that, but it really is. It's all of the above. If we're able to create that, what it does is, yes, we're able to get more reservations, and that goes directly back into Parks and Recreation, depending on what facility it is. But in the same, on the other side of the coin, it also benefits the city because we're talking about economic impact at that point. So you have the hotels that get filled up, you have the restaurants. And so I think in totality, you're looking at a citywide initiative. In addition to that, I feel like it is citywide because it was also within the comprehensive plan that was laid out.
Gotcha.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
as the commission member who sat in on those meetings with SFC and the stakeholders that day, it was very interesting to me. There are definitely, between the softball, basketball, all the leagues in town, they all definitely, as stakeholders had a say about the condition of the facilities. And one thing I remember right off the bat was that there aren't any batting cages. The batting cages available, I think, are at the high school, and then it's first come, first serve. And the same thing about some of the fields, and then they went on to talk about the fields at the community center, I guess. And, things like bathroom and ingress and egress and all of those things, they're adequate. They're not even adequate right now for what they want to do, but it certainly is a deterrent for them bringing any larger tournaments in, games, weekend games and all of that. And at the same time, there's this other interesting component that you bring all these people in, and yet there's nothing for them to do in town. What are the families going to do on their off hours? Where are they going to eat? Where are they going to go? Somebody mentioned, wouldn't it be great to have a Top Golf, or the second tier is, I think, called Legends? Well, that's a private development. That'd be great. But it's just very fascinating. The same conversation was had about the community center. The community center is not going to be adequate for city growth and what the city wants to do. And if you put money into that side of town, if you put money into the community center building itself, then you begin this economic development on that side of town, and then people come, businesses come, and it's a lot to be said.
Wouldn't it be great if there was a food truck park in Riverside Park?
We're currently working on that. We have that in the budget. I can give you an
working on
update on that.
But Jason, so what is the next, out of this 60-page document, so what is the next step for the Parks and Rec Department? What is the next step out of that? Where do we go from there?
Did everyone get your email today that I got?
Yes, ma'am. I believe so. So the next steps would be so we're currently working with SFC on conceptuals for a handful of the areas that they focused on. So the youth sports complex, the adult sports complex. That way we have some visuals to be able to show the community. The next step after that would be really trying to figure out which route we're going to go. What maybe again, kind of the biggest bang for our buck. Where is our market at right now? We know we're heavy in softball. We know we're not as heavy in baseball. What's that driving market that we're missing out on here in Victoria? Is it soccer, or is it the fact that we need more softball fields? I'm not sure. And so I think that's where that conversation comes into place is, okay, hey, we know we're getting inundated with softball organizations. There's some recommendation in here for, some changing of the fields or some different layouts, and start talking about CIP and budget, because ultimately that's what it's going to come down to, is having a conversation with either city council, city manager's office, everyone involved to have that understanding and including that in our CIP. because a lot of it is $100,000 plus
And a big,
items.
and as I recall, a big conversation is turf versus artificial turf versus grass,
Yes, ma'am, for
And-
some of them, yes, ma'am,
right? Because with artificial turf, it's more expensive up front,
correct.
but you can play, given the weather we have and the rains we have, you can play inside of 8 hours or less.
Correct.
And with
And-
grass, you can't. So
and
it
quite honestly,
wipes out all tournaments.
Exactly. And there are tournaments that don't come to Victoria because we don't have turf.
Right.
And that's just, they ask, do you have turf? No, okay.
Yeah.
That's a determining factor for them. I'm not saying all of them by any means, but, you have some organizations that depend on that because of exactly what you had mentioned. They're not going to spend their time and effort creating a tournament for 2 or 3 months, pushing all of that information out, and then day of, they get rained out because we can't turn around the fields. I mean, there's obviously understanding for delays and all of that, but if you're getting a monsoon and you need to play on it, we can't turn it around in an hour or two.
And I'm sorry, this is off topic, but still related to the community center fields. Do we not have a snack person right now, like to do concessions?
We do.
We do,
We do
okay.
at our youth sports complex. We do, not at our adult sports complex.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. So that needs to be filled still, or
The
is it
adult sports
open?
complex?
As
Yes.
far as the concessions? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
But yeah, just really trying to see if there's any additional feedback that you'd like to provide us for SFC. It's still a draft, so we're still able to make any kind of adjustments before we, wrap it up and make a final document out of it and then present it to city council.
Any other comments from commission?
No.
Okay.
Cool, thank you.
Well, since you started to, I guess you should finish introducing our new sports tourism manager.
Sure thing. So I just wanted to bring Alex up. Go ahead and come on up, man. Alex is our new sports tourism manager for the city of Victoria. I'll let him chat with you a little bit about who he is and his previous experience with the department.
Welcome, Alex.
Welcome.
Good morning, Commission. Like Jason mentioned, my name is Alexander Weddle. You can call me Alex. I'm the new sports tourism manager. I was actually employed with the Parks and Rec department before. I was a rec coordinator for about 8-9 months. Left for a little bit, saw this job opening, and decided to come back for it. When I first applied, I really saw this job in the beginning, but I felt like my qualifications and experience weren't quite there yet. Now I'm going back to school. I'm about a semester away from completing my master's in sports management, and a lot of those courses
Congratulations.
that I'm taking or involve a lot of stuff what I'm doing currently. So that's really a good help. A lot of research and studying. So I'm really enjoying that process. Like Jason said, kind of piggybacking off the SFC, my main goal here is to make Victoria not just a local, regional, and state destination for sports, and not just to bring tourism in, but like as Mr. Billingsley said, as for local, improving that community health, giving those more options to lower income sides of the towns, giving those the opportunities that they see a nice turf field or nice facilities that they want to go out and play, not dirt, old grass that's ripped up, giving those opportunities. And, as far as the facilities kind of piggyback off that, that's more on weekends. During the week, that'll be filled with community stuff. I was talking to Gabby, our rec coordinator, maybe, filling in more rec leagues, more rec opportunities for stuff like that. So those facilities aren't just used for sports on the weekends for out-of-towners. It's mainly also used for the citizens of Victoria, and that's what I kind of mentioned to Jason in the beginning, that I just don't want to build these for outsiders, tourism, which is great for the city overall, economic development and growth. But at the same time, I want to give something back to the city that they could be proud of these facilities. Because when I was a rec coordinator, being out there for our fall league, spring league, summer league, the adult softball and kickball, they always came up to me, man, when is this facility going to change? It's so old. It's have guys in their 40s or 50s. It looked like this when I was a teenager. And it's something they want to continue to bring their family to, their kids, their grandkids. They want to see it, but they want a new facility. So it's something the city is wanting a lot of feedback I get. That was when I was a rec coordinator, and I still communicate with some of those local guys who are still calling for local tournaments here, which is great. But they want to expand those local tournaments. These guys know people who, even though if it's local, they could get pulled from a 2-3 hour radius from Corpus, Shiner, Inez. So they've been giving me this feedback since I was a rec coordinator. So I'm glad I'm in this position to kind of fulfill those wishes more, trying to do more due diligence for that. So that's kind of my duty and my mission is to, enhance Victoria as a sports destination, but also give back to the community because I know it's something they've been asking for.
Awesome.
All right.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to have you in this position, Alex. It sounds like you've got a good grip on the synergies that are possible between the things you were talking about, because I think there are a lot of synergies possible between economic development in general and doing better by our own residents by increasing the facilities and the resources we've got available here, to do things with. So I think I think we need more thinking like that, and that's going to be very welcome, I think.
Yes, sir. So
Thank
if you have anything, I've been sending out those updates. If you haven't been getting them, I'll probably get an updated email. But like I said, I'm a phone call away and an email away. I'm willing to speak, listen to ideas.
I love the calendars too. Like now, like I know what's coming up, and it's on an event side, but also like on the sports side
What's
as
happening
well.
at the Parks and Rec facilities. The next one's going to come out a little earlier because this weekend is a full weekend with a lot of stuff. So that one will probably come out tomorrow because I want you to have a head start on the weekend coming up. So just look out for that one.
You do a great job. Like it's a joy to work with you. I mean, I've gotten to work with you quite a few times with events, and you're great. So y'all do a great job.
Thank you.
And we appreciate you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thanks. All right. Mr. Oliver, would you like to come address the commission on the YMCA?
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity. I should have done this a long time ago. But I got here in April of 2019, so I wasn't here for the contract or any of that stuff. But we're certainly want to be transparent and want to make sure that you're getting the bang for your buck that you paid for. But so what I provided you with is our financials for the aquatics department, and I can go over the first year for you probably, and then answer questions and so forth. But to give you a little history behind it, 2017 was when it opened. I called Craig Lager to kind of get some information about what it costs to build that pool. I know the city gave us $1.5 million to do it. He said off the top of his head he had to go back in wherever he stored all of his stuff and pulled it all out, but it took him a week and a half or so, but he came back and said that all in it was about 1.8. There was more money for the pool building because we kind of upgraded some stuff in there, and then we also added some features to that. So that bucket, some other stuff was added at a later time. So about 1.8 to get it up and where it's at. So what you have is every year since it opened. So the first one is 2017. If you look at for the first item, the WISE, this is how we do our financials. So the first section is going to be revenue, and then the bottom is going to be expenses. So if you look at program, those are day fees. So those are people that walk up and paid their money to come in and utilize the pool. Sales vending, we sell, vending there, we sell all sorts of stuff. That's the money we make on that, and typically that's about a wash. We don't make a lot of money on sales and vending. And then third is miscellaneous, and that's parties. We do rentals, we do parties, swim lessons. Also included in that is contract with Edna. We also manage Edna's city pool. We also manage the city of Palacios pool and the city of Port Lavaca's pool. Those three are different in that we have a contract with the city, and our contract with the city stipulates that we're not going to lose any money. So with Edna as part of the Briggs branch, that's kind of in and out because we don't, the city pays us a certain amount of money and we don't lose any money on it. And so at the end of the year, if, you know.
Don't
we
make
look
any
at-
money either.
We don't make any money either, but, you know, if you know pools, that's not gonna happen. And then also, we're working with, we're always looking at what we can also do. Bay City called us, and we're gonna work with Bay City. Bay City's gonna build a $12 million natatorium, indoor, kind of like Alice, if you've been to Alice and seen their indoor natatorium. And so they called us, and we're gonna work with them to manage the natatorium in Bay City. So, sorry. So that's kind of where we're at with other pools besides that. So if you look at 2017, that was the first year we brought in 108,000, a little over 108. We had only budgeted for 87. As you can guess, salaries and wages are going to be our biggest expense. You know, lifeguards. That pool is designed, and it's tough to guard that pool just because of the way it's designed. So we have to have guards out on that pool, whether we have ratios or not. You know, the ratio for guard to swimmers is 1 to 25. But with the way that pool is designed, we have to have more guards out there. So, you know, we may have, 15 kids or 15 people in the pool, but we still gonna have 3 or 4 guards.
And you're talking about the Victoria YMCA pool?
Correct.
So the L shape is causing you problems? It's kind of an L shape?
Yeah, well, yeah, because, we had the slides causes issues. So there's different parts of that pool that you have to have guards on to do it. And, our insurance carrier is Redwood's Insurance, so, and they're pretty sticky about how we do those things. So, we're constantly training and doing, red ball drills and silhouette drills and all of those things too. So most of our expense is going to come from staff. And in the last year, after COVID, and we came out of COVID, we've bumped salaries up too for guards.
And this is just pool salaries, or this kind of also encompasses the people that do programs for the pools and?
Yeah, swim lessons
all
and, yeah, that'll be swim lessons and some of them. Well, again, we haven't done a whole bunch of swim lessons, so it's not a large part of that. Most of it's comes with open swim and, parties and things like that. Benefits, we provide benefits for our employees. Taxes is self-explanatory. Supplies, that's mostly chlorine. We go through a lot of chlorine. Outside pool, you're gonna see, evaporation and all that, so we go through a lot of chlorine. And then other little things for like guard tubes and, other type things that we need to buy for, that and Aqua Fitness and some other things we do. We buy supplies for those. Telephone travel is expensive. Lease payment, that's depreciation really. So we're depreciating the pool. And I believe, I was talking to our CPA, I think the life of that pool is like 20, 25 years. So that's the depreciation part of it. So if you look, we lost $103,000 on this, but that's not adding in some of the other stuff. And you have another sheet that has utilities, insurance, and administration. So utilities is electrical and water that it costs us to keep the pool open. Insurance, and insurance is something you need, and especially with a pool, a lot of liability out of there with that. And we've had, WISE nationally have had 8 incidents already this summer. And we haven't had any deaths, but we've had 8, of those 8, 4 have been medical. And that's not here. We haven't had any here, thank God, but that's nationwide. So, but if you add in utilities, insurance, and administration, that's on another sheet that I provided for you, so you would add that in. And then, take out depreciation, and that kind of shows you where we're at as far as the cash flow thing. So we're not making any money on.
Is the presentation of this budget to justify the $5 entry fee? Is that what you're trying to get to, too?
No, if I'm here to justify an entry fee, it's gonna be a lot more than $5. So,
Well, so thank you, Mr. Oliver, for coming today. And sharing your financials with us. We really do appreciate it. Our conversation at the last meeting had to do with the entry fee, as Gail spoke about. We were just trying to understand it. We were under the impression, not fully advised how the fee came to be. We thought the city of Victoria had an agreement with the Y to keep the price down. So can you just tell us about the fee for a general community member that walks in off the street? How much do they pay? How much do they pay? Is there a family rate? I see that on the back that it's $5. So
Well,
is there a
yeah.
bundled rate? Is there?
We have,
Be a member.
again, we're a membership-based organization, so we want to make sure that, we, everything we try to do is we want people to join, and we want people to be a part of the Y so it's more sustainable. We don't want users, we want members.
How much is a membership? And do you sell just a pool membership?
Yeah, we do. We sell a summer pool membership. Off the top of my head, I don't, you can go on our website and
Okay.
it'll have that listed, along with our, Y membership pools too. It's a $10 day fee. So, and if you look at the schedule, the pool schedule that we provided too, it does say members only on some of those things. But if you're a community member and you want to come take Aqua Fitness, Aqua Zumba on Saturday mornings, you can come pay $10 and take the class. So even though it says members only, it's open to the public too. We're open to the public regardless. Any Y program,
I don't
anybody
mean
can
to
come and do it.
correct you, but you said $10, but it says $5 on here?
That's the,
Take a class.
That's
the
just a
cl-
class,
No,
okay.
that's
Something
the
about a day
pool.
fee.
I know, he said a day fee, and I was
Yeah,
confused.
that's the pool day fee.
Got it.
It's $10 for the Y day fee.
Oh,
And
gotcha.
so our agreement with the city, when they entered into the contract was, we would not be able to charge more than half of a Y day fee.
Correct.
That's why you have $5. So it's not nearly even close to helping us, offset the cost. But we understand that when you have a pool, that it's going to cost you money. The other thing we had the freeze, 2019, 2020? 2020. So we had to replace, that pool room got flooded because the pipes froze and then electricity came back on and then pipes burst and, pumps are what, $5,000 a piece and then we have a filtration system that's, we not only do chlorine, but then we also do infrared. So that system was affected too. And I think that was $15,000 or something like that to replace that. And then we had the pool heater was also affected. So in some of these, like in 2021, it cost us $21,500 for pool equipment. So those things, the pool heater, the infrared system, the
Has
pipes.
the pool ever been open in the wintertime? I haven't known it to be open.
No, it hasn't because they put the pool heater in and just never run it. So when I got here, I'm like, okay, well, let's get this baby up and running. And it's like, well, it doesn't run. So I'm like, oh, okay. So, we were working on getting that replaced anyway, trying to find the money to get that replaced. Well, the freeze kind of helped us. So my goal is it's open year round. I had a pool. I was in Central Florida for a number of years, and we had a couple outdoor pools, and we ran them year round. And, there was mad dash from the locker room to the pool in some days because it was cold. It was 40 degrees.
Initially, the plan on this YMCA was to build a dome across the top of it for heated.
Yeah.
I've never seen that, though. Port Aransas has a heated pool. I know we always mention it because we love it so much, but they don't have a dome on top of theirs, and they heat it during the winter.
Yeah, that drives up the cost because, we're already, putting chlorine in it and we're already circulating and all that stuff. But, you got to pay to put the dome on it. And then you're going to have to, anytime you put a pool inside, causes a whole bunch of other problems, air quality and all of that kind of thing. So if you're looking at
Yeah,
at
I was
putting
just mentioning it
yeah.
because it was the original plan.
Yeah,
so.
no, and that's in our strategic plan also is to take a look at that. Is, you know, can we dome it and can we?
Why not just leave it open
Well,
and
again,
heat it, because then your heat's gonna
there's-
go
Your
away?
utilities
Yeah.
are gonna go way up to run the
Yeah.
heater.
Yeah, you know, when you get cold and it's outside, you have evaporation and all those things, so it does. But it's gonna cost you a lot to
I've
heat
got
it
several
anyway.
questions.
Sure.
Number one, you see where the blue area is? It says swimming lessons. Is that open to the public or just the members?
No, it's open to the public. It's,
Public?
those are programs, so you sign up to
I
take
know
swim
you say
lessons.
every program.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's one question. Okay, so it's open to the public. My next question is, I noticed that you only open in the heat of the day. I know the old public swimming pool is normally closed at 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Why is it closing so early in heat of the day, 5 o'clock? Do you have what's the attendance?
Oh, no, they're open till
No.
6:30.
Are you, Commissioner, are you talking about the open swim time? Or are you
Yes.
talking about,
That's
open.
just, that's open swim time for.
That's for the public.
The entire community, not YMCA members. This is our blocks.
No, but I'm talking about.
All the orange
Look
is
at the time
open,
to close.
open swim.
7:45?
Mm-mm,
5
it's
o'clock.
only open in the orange.
That's open swimming pool, but it's not, it's just lessons.
So the public that pays $5 can only come during the orange time, is that correct?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so it's only open from 1 to 5, Ash.
right. I mean, we're contracted for 28 hours, and this is 25, so we're close, but.
Look at the heat of the day, though.
During swim lessons, is part of the pool open for members swim?
No.
No? Okay.
And again, you gotta look at, for us, you know, we gotta look at costs and how we're keeping the costs down.
Sure, these other activities are making you money, swim lessons
Well,
and all these other things.
I can't make enough, I can't charge enough to make enough money, because we have ratios, and so when we do swim lessons, it's a 1 to 4 to 1 to 6 ratio. And then you only have so much space in that pool that you can put lessons in. So I can't do enough lessons in that pool to
and you still
to
need
offset
Are
that.
you trying to
top of
say
that.
that it's
Then you
a
got-
poor?
Yeah, and then you gotta put lifeguards on.
Are you trying to say it's a poor design?
No,
So
it's not a
like-
poor design at all. It pools,
Did they ever make
I've seen
money?
pools all over the country. I've been in, I was in Nebraska, I was in Ohio, Florida. I have not seen a pool.
Make money,
Make money.
correct? It's subsidized,
Yeah.
basically.
I
It just,
have.
it just cut,
Where?
where's that?
Swimming lessons. Swimming lessons is your gold for a pool.
But he's talking the overall maintenance and maintaining a pool.
I know, but that's where your
It's not-
income is.
It's not fiscally responsible. If you're just looking at dollars and cents, is what he's saying, correct?
But are the swim lessons gonna be enough to subsidize the whole pool?
No,
The whole year.
no.
Well, your
You
swim
gotta run
lesson-
them all like you gotta run them all year round.
Yeah, even if you run them year-round, you just.
They're in here.
Give you an example. If I'm gonna run basketball in a gym, I can put 100 kids in that gym and run and have, you know, a couple of staff people. If I was trying to do that on a pool, I'd have, you know, 1 to 25, I'd have to have 4 or 5 lifeguards out there. Then I'd have to have, if you're talking swim lessons, it's a 1 to 6. So you're
Trying to
talking.
keep
Well,
kids from
yeah.
drowning.
And
Oh,
if I would interject too, it's not just the lifeguards and the people that are in the pool. You're talking about people who are either in concessions that you're still having to pay, people who are at the door that are checking cards or giving cash back. And so you have, you know, 2 or 3 more folks just in addition to the lifeguards and everybody else. And so I completely understand where you're coming from, having to deal with 2 different pools before. It is very difficult. And then, you know, the one thing that you know, Mr. Oliver hasn't mentioned is just the fact that you've got high school typically kids that are out here doing this work, and even college kids, college students, should I say, not kids. But college students who are here making 13, 14 bucks an hour, whatever it is, 15? Less.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, it really is amazing to see kids that are students who are working at that price, and they're responsible for literally lives. That is a big burden for a teenager, let alone a young adult going into college. So, just to throw that out there, I know it's done all over the place, but that's, to me, has been one of the difficult things coming from the Houston area that we were having problems with. The high school students and the college students just weren't applying for those pool positions and those lifeguards, because not only that, it deals with whether or not, how their certifications are paid. Do they pay that out of pocket? Is it something that the YMCA pays? So there's a plethora of other things that people that are in pool operations have to contend with, other than just lifeguards for the day of.
Yep, I can say something on that, because like, I was at the zoo earlier, and I'm like, y'all are probably the only people that actually know what it's like to work in the heat all day long and it be 100 degrees, and it's not easy. It's not really a luxurious job being out there. You're not getting in the pool. So, I mean, like, you're not cooled off, and you're sitting out there getting fried all day long, and it's hot. It's very, very hot right now. And you're talking about these prime hour of the days that people don't want to swim. Yeah, I mean, they don't want to get in the water, but we've got people sitting outside of the water, over water, reflected concrete. It's a heat box. I mean, that is a hard job. It is not easy. Like, people think lifeguards do nothing. They save lives. Like,
Absolutely.
And to that point, you may, drive by, or you may come up and you may see, 3 or 4 lifeguards out there actually lifeguarding. Well, that's only a fraction of the number of guards that we have to have available, because they have to cycle. And so they can only be up in the chair a certain amount of time, and we have to bring them down and get them out, so they're not in the heat.
There's also no lifeguard programs here other than what the YMCA offers. So you can't get
That's
lifeguard certified anywhere within 120 miles of here.
It is so.
So
yeah.
it is very
There's a
difficult.
fight amongst all of the
Yes.
pools of like trying to
Like-
staff lifeguards, get them
Oh,
open. And
yeah.
he said a lot of it
difficult.
is, it's hard to get in the summer because you got to get those kids that are in college that are only here for those weeks. But I mean, kudos to the Y and what they do, because I think it's great for our community to have this resource. It's good to also, I mean, it's not good, but it's very interesting to see how much money the Y loses on this pool. Is that something that's going to be sustainable? Can the Y sustain that going forward for the next, that was built in 2017? So
Yeah,
for
2017.
the next 20 years,
Well,
is this a
they have
sustainable
help.
model, or does something need to change?
We invented swim lessons, the Y, in 1906. We've been doing it. We invented pools, indoor pools. I mean, the first indoor pool was in Brooklyn, New York, 1886. Then it was just a tank. It was 5 feet deep, and no circulation. So you can guess that water got pretty bad. It wasn't until Kansas City 25 years later that they actually invented the first filtered pool. And that was at a Y in Kansas City. So, we've done it. We've done pools for years and years and years. There's a lot of Ys that when they go in to build, they won't build a pool. It just costs them way too much money to do it. And then there's, we have a training, and one of the trainings is, a hypothetical, because there was a Y in Kentucky that took a contract with the city for $1 million to build a pool. And so as a participant in that class, you were supposed to sit down and say, okay, is that a smart move by that Y? And of course, everybody in the Y is like, oh yeah, we need to do swim lessons and we need to do all this stuff and prevent drowning. And then, at the end of the day, it was like, no, that's not a good idea. Because that Y
However,
couldn't sustain it.
Your swim lesson revenue's in the numbers, right? It's in the
Right.
miscellaneous, so
Yeah.
you can see what the impact of that is. I don't think it's.
Yeah.
So I again just thank you and commend you for bringing this to us and appreciate it. And I do, like Brian said, I think it's a great amenity for the city. But what it sounds like, Jason, is that the city is underserved with regards, that's my question, is the city underserved with regards to swimming pools? And so does that need to move up in the list of what the city of Victoria needs to look at, either in the master plan or in this sports tourism thing? And I'm fully aware of how expensive pools are and what I'm, asking you to do, but the Y is doing their job.
Well, yeah,
He's contracted for 20 hours, he's given the city 30. He's half the day rate at 10 to 5, so the Y is doing their job, but and we're providing splash pads, which I know why. So my question for the city is there something more that we need to do to serve that population that,
I think the next step for us would be to find out how many non-members are using the YMCA pool a year. So that way we can see what kind of revenue that we're pulling in and also how many people are using it. And then when I go to other community pools, we're looking at like $2, $4. It's very low. I mean, obviously pools are expensive and anyways, we need, like how did the,
$2 is the highest I've seen.
They're
Queer,
obvious, I mean, from what it sounds like purely anecdotally, that's gotta be heavily subsidized by the city. Like that $2 or
Right.
$4 isn't paying for the pool. The city is providing the bulk of those funds. Cause even with the $1 million that the city gave and with the $5 entry fee and all the other things that the Y is doing on
they're
top
still
of
in
it,
the red.
they're still losing money. So it's like,
it's subsidized.
yeah.
Right.
And the Y's not gonna make money with all members either. I mean, that's
Right.
not the Y's point. I mean,
No.
they're not.
They're nonprofit.
Yeah, but the economics of a pool are the economics of a pool.
And like,
And, you know, the question, I think you raised it perfectly, are we pulling our weight as a city in providing this for our community? Do we need to, you know, are we constricted in our arrangement with the YMCA such that we should revisit it and figure out a way to, if it's not sustainable that way, or you're not fully utilized, maybe there's more utilization there, maybe the contract needs to be revisited for that purpose, or maybe, you know, maybe we need to do more,
I could see it if you're a low-income family. You know, the $5 doesn't do a whole lot for your budget, but if I've got 4 kids and parents, that's $30 to go to the pool. Like
just for a pool day,
yeah, for 4 hours from 1 to 5.
no
Yeah.
food or drink.
which he
Yeah.
said is pretty dead between 1 to 5 because that's the heat of the day hours. And so like when he goes by there, it's not even busy at that time. So that's not best serving our city.
Do we publicize this arrangement anywhere on like our Facebook page or Parks and Rec that like community members can use the pool? Because
Yeah, so I mean, we have it on our website. I don't think we push it as much as we probably should on social media, but we do have it on our website. It's just a link that goes directly to the YMCA. You know, I can say that when I first arrived here, we had some conversations with the YMCA about just the hours that they were open, and there was some adjustments that were made. To your point, Commissioner Rivera, is, you know, because we were getting the same conversations, from the community about, hey, it's 5 o'clock. I don't get out of work until 5 o'clock. How can I get over to the pool to be able to enjoy it? And so what I can say is that, the YMCA here in Victoria has been really pretty open to some of the conversations that we're asking of them, and just to be able to move some of these hours. And so, I'm not putting Bud on the spot or anything, but I'm sure that we could come up with a pretty solid schedule for next pool season, to maybe look at some of these hours and maybe adjusting them a little bit to where maybe it closes at 6:30 and you get an hour and a half. I don't know. As far as your question, Commissioner Eder, to what is the city doing, I think, without being part of those conversations back in 2017, Bud and I had this conversation too. I mean, we feel like that was probably part of that is, hey, the city wants to be able to do something. We know we can't completely fund a pool, but we want to be able to help provide funding of a pool as long as you can do the operations. That was in 2017, so that's, 6 years ago at this point. So yes, I feel like, the contract probably does need to be revisited. Let's look at it and see what we can do. What can we adjust? Is there anything that, Bud and his team can come up with that is palatable for the city and vice versa? Because I think ultimately, like you had mentioned, I mean, the pool's not going to make money. I mean, and so if the city is going to invest into creating and building a pool, I mean, that's a huge conversation that we need to have as far as investments.
Well,
In
so-
addition to that, that's also budgetary items that we would need to increase just as long as, as the YMCA is with the chemicals, part-time staff, full-time staff, all of that. So it would definitely not only, it would just necessitate additional personnel.
So Jason, right now in our 10-year master plan, which we just adopted 2 years ago?
2 years ago, yes, ma'am.
So we don't have a pool in that plan,
Not that I'm aware of.
but we
no.
have splash pads coming?
We decided to change that too.
So what kind of aquatic features for the public do we have in our master plan that we're looking at for the next 10-year horizon?
Ooh, you're gonna make me try to figure out this off the top of my.
downtown
Right.
Like that.
Plaza.
Right.
Downtown Plaza, but that's not Parks Plan, but.
Right, I
Yeah.
mean, I
they're
think
gonna
there's
have a water
different,
feature.
different components within different plans. The master plan for downtown, as you had just mentioned, asks for some kind of a splash pad or some kind of a water feature. Quite honestly, I don't know if there's anything that is in the master plan that relates to water activities other than the river.
Okay, so here's, maybe we're all reacting because it's so hot for the third or fourth week in a
It
row.
is extreme heat, so.
But, the master plan, help me out, but the master plan was built on data analysis, community input.
Correct.
It's a solid document.
Yes, ma'am.
And out of that solid document, that solid research, Q&A, we came up with a master plan that did not address this. So I don't know, so I feel like we're kind of having a knee-jerk reaction. And I want to just make sure as a commission that we don't necessarily go there. I mean, the Y is doing their job. I like what you said, that for the next contract season, the city could negotiate hours, times, et cetera, to maybe give some additional flexibility, maybe a couple of morning slots or evening slots, but the Y is doing their job. And short of a full-on subsidy by the city, a budgetary item, I don't think that's going to happen. So we have a master plan, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, but it's a good it's a good master plan.
Right.
So we are comfortable as a city providing splash pads. We know the maintenance issues with those. We know the public we serve. You guys have extended the hours on the splash pads, which has been a beautiful thing to serve the public there. So I think unless there's anything else on this conversation,
The only thing I would say is if we knew how many non-members were using the pool yearly, then maybe we could request from council that we get funding to reduce the amount, okay? Like, so that way you could charge $2, per person, and maybe we pick up the other 3. And, and so y'all get some funding that goes toward that pool to lesser the cost to the entry.
Yeah, I would, you also
okay, well,
have
I'm going to say something about that, sorry. I think that, I don't have a problem with that, but when you reduce the fee, then you also have to look at your capacity.
Right.
So.
I was going to say, we're not the only pool, though, also, because you look at VISD has their pool that they're selling memberships to, and they're having swim lessons, and then you got neighborhood pools that we're competing against to get people to come and do
Right.
lessons and so forth. So we're not the only pool in town to do that, so. But, yeah, we're certainly would be open to working with the city on how we can do that. We're also, again, our plan is to do year-round. I want to see it open year-round. Well, we got the pool heater up and running now, and we're going to make sure it's working. We've extended to October. Our issue is as soon as school starts, we don't see any kids.
Oh, and I was going to say that too. December, January, February, no interest in water activity, none, 0. Nobody wants to go from being inside the pool to being in the freezing cold. Like, I don't get it with kayaking. The weather is not good. I mean, I have people tell me all the time, like, I'll see you when it gets warmer, and then it gets warmer, and they're like, it's hot. So, like, people don't want to mess with water at that time.
I support Ashley's proposition. I think that would be something that would be really interesting to see the numbers and maybe get some more community input as to if we were to go to council and ask for, subsidized funding, because it might not be that many people that we're having to serve. It would definitely be cheaper than trying to build a pool or do anything else of subsidizing the passes for people, from $5 even down to $3 or something like that, where the city's picking up a tab of $2 or something like
In
that.
2017, they did this for a reason. I remember not liking it at the time, okay, because I like the indoor pool, and I grew up going to the Y, and I took all their classes. I'm a shark. And so anyways, but it's great. Like, it's a great program. I mean, I love the Y. I'm not a member. I have been back and forth. I've had my kids in their programs, but I didn't like it because we were losing the indoor. And back then, we have the aquatic center, but it was very limited on its hours as well. And I agree that we need to have after-hour hours, because that's when I always went with my mom. So, if there's, you can't do that otherwise. But But when it came to that pool, it looked like a really lovely structure and all that, but my feelings back then were the city should be building this, because then everyone has access to it. But they decided to invest in the Y pool, so like carrying with what they did, which is good. I mean, the YMCA benefits Victoria, okay? But I just remember that was my thoughts back then, because I saw this like, this is the plan, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna lose my indoor pool. But it is a great pool, and it does serve the community, but maybe we do expand it and we grow it and make it where it can, you know, like, because we can create other pools. There can be kiddie pools. Like, you can make a kiddie paddling pool section, or, I mean, because other things could be added later, right? Like, it had potential to grow into like almost a water park based on like the preliminary. I looked all into the YMCA plan when this happened, because I was not happy about it, but it looked cool. And I was like, well, it'll bring people. So, and it obviously is.
Yeah, and one thing when you're asking, okay, what's the public and that, we scholarship people too. So we could have a number of people that come use the pool that are not paying the day fee, but are on scholarship. So they're probably paying
completely
less than
understand.
$5 to come use the pool
Right.
also.
What do y'all think?
I really appreciate the time. I'm sorry it's 4 years. I think we should probably do this more often so that we can come and
Is there something that would benefit you that we could, you know, like, that we could help y'all with?
well, you know, you asked me the question, it would be a contract that we
Funding?
would not lose any money. I mean, our contract with Edna is, I think it's $26,000. And so
$26,000.
for the summer, and it's
the
less
summer?
time. Yeah,
Okay.
less hours, less time.
'Cause you don't get any funding. You got the one-time funding up front from Victoria. You
Right.
get nothing for the next 20 years of
Yeah.
the pool.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's how every other Y I've been at, we've always done city pools, and we've always worked with a contract with the city pool, and here's what it's gonna cost, and it's only, you know, we only charge, you know, our, you know, we hire all the lifeguards, we do all that stuff, we schedule them and do all that, and we only charge for what that costs us, so, you know, it's a good working relationship, the city, it's their pool, they, you know, and we're just there to staff it and, you know,
Does it-
do that, so,
Does Edna or any of the other pools that you guys run, do they charge an entry fee?
yeah.
What is theirs?
Oh, jeez.
Put you on the spot.
I can certainly, I'll get that info and get it to you, because then I'll let you know what Port Lavaca
Yeah,
does.
how we compare.
Yeah, and Palacios. And Palacios, we just did that, with that pool, what we did is, it's interesting, is the city of Palacios sold it to the Ed Rochelle Foundation out of Corpus, and then we contract with the Ed Rochelle Foundation to open the pool and manage the pool. So, I mean, there's a number of ways you can do it. We just want to, I mean, it's something we do, and we want to make sure that, you know, it's open and available. And so we'll do it any way we can. You know, my preference in answering your question would be, you know, if I was here in 2017, we probably wouldn't have this,
Right,
just because it's just cost us way too much
right.
money.
I get that. I'm sorry.
It would have been the city's pool, and then I would have been asking Jason, hey, you know, hey, we'll staff it and we'll do
Nice.
it all for you, because, again, you know, that's not something that we should be doing or could be doing. But
Right.
Mr. Oliver, thank you very much for coming
Thank you.
today.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
appreciate it.
Pleasure meeting you.
Thanks. I didn't even get to use my power.
All right.
Tilly.
Number 5, number.
Jason, you want to give us our parks and?
Is there any
Recreation.
way that we could push the last agenda item to the next meeting due to time? Could we do that? The Parks
and Rec
update?
That's the one.
I would make a motion that we move the last agenda item to the next meeting due to the late hour.
Yep, however you'd like to proceed.
I mean, I'm good.
Well, there's a motion on the table for that. Is there a second?
I'll second that one.
Okay. All in favor of,
What's the motion?
the motion is to take, is to not do the
Table number 5 until next
Parks and Rec update right now, but do it next time. There's a motion and a second. So, all in favor?
I've been here till 9 for meetings before. I'm good.
Well, maybe Jason wants to, the finale.
Call the vote.
I think, yeah, we got to vote on it now.
Gotta
No, I'm asking, all in favor of?
Aye.
okay,
And the
all
second?
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed?
I withdraw my seconds because I just realized what the text and I got in, maybe this be the grand finale.
Nothing too special about this one, but if you'd like to, yeah, however y'all like to proceed.
I think we just voted to proceed.
Yes,
Oh,
please.
okay, all right, we'll scroll through this really quickly.
Yeah,
Quickly as I can.
hurry up, would you?
Yes, sir, absolutely. I'm on it, boss, I'm on it. Okay, Parks and Recreation update for July. Just wanted to share with you that we had the 2023 City Leadership Academy. It was the first academy that we had from the city, and so we had 2 individuals from the Parks and Recreation Department attend. Mr. Stephen Gallagher, who is right behind the police officer. He's our park superintendent, and then Dennis Dixon, who is right next to the police officer. He's our golf course superintendent. So kudos to them. They went through a 2-week-long leadership academy. Parks and Recreation. We have really, it's been hot. So we've been mowing dust, and then when we haven't been mowing dust, we've been doing some your typical maintenance. So mowing ball fields. We, of course, assisted with the 4th of July event. That one is some, yeah, that's an area I want to talk to you all about later. But we did remove, my bad, bollards? Was that, that's just the way the L, oh, I'm sorry, it looks like an I from here. So it looks like B-O-L-I.
That's correct.
So, yeah, 2 L's. Okay, we're good. So bollards. We did remove the bollards in Ethel Lee Tracy Park. You can see the bottom. One of those pictures, you can kind of see in the background all the bollards that are still there right in front of that backhoe. You can see on the picture on the right-hand side, after we removed those bollards, we also scraped the roadway, if you will, on the parking lot. All of that mudded area that you see, that discolored area in those parking spaces was where grass was at one point. So what that means is that not only is the grass encroaching on the parking lot, but it means that our team had to go out there and weed eat it and mow it. So now that we removed those bollards, cleaned all that area up, not only do you have additional parking space, but you also have less maintenance associated with that. And so I figured this was a good picture to show you kind of the reasoning behind we have started removing those bollards. This was a big circle area on the far right. I believe it was that area. But there's a circle area, Ethel Lee Tracy, where we have just bollards all around in a circle, and it makes no sense whatsoever. So that's the stuff that we're ending up yanking out and just trying to fix. So
Jason, we all realize that you're a very famous bollard hater.
I am.
His brother-in-law sold bollards back in the day.
To me, it makes sense where it makes sense, and it doesn't make sense here. So let's pull that out.
They
put
are
'em in
all
at the
over.
soccer
Someone preceding you was a bollard lover.
Oh, I got you.
I said their brother-in-law sold
I
bollards.
think must have
They just
been. I
had a
think that's
sweetheart
right.
deal.
Well, I can tell you our family
We have lots of them.
get-togethers during Thanksgiving and Christmas. We talk about that, me and him. So, no, I mean, I can't stand them. So anyway, we got rid of them. But one of the things, we have continued to work on the splash pads. So I wanted to make that note to you. The picture that you see at the top is the community center park splash pad. During the last meeting, I told you that we were going to have a soft opening. We did have a soft opening. Everything was good. We went ahead and pushed that out on social media, and community center park splash pad is now up and running. No issues really whatsoever. So that's a good thing. The problem that we have with Ethel Lee Tracy is that we're still banging our head against the wall with the contractor that is over water play? Oof. There's so many of them. I don't want to get it wrong. Over water play. We've since decided not to contact them anymore. Reached out to another vendor who is planning to help us. They're going to be coming down next week and taking a look at Ethel Lee Tracy. 2 completely different manufacturers that are looking at this product, but nonetheless, hopefully we have an answer of what the issue is by next week, so we can start working to fix that.
The problem over there is with the machinery and stuff. It's not with the the site itself? Because we had some site issues, right, at the community center.
Correct, yes, sir. It was a kind of a combination of both for Community Park. We did have some issues internally with some of the components that we repaired. And then also there was an issue with the concrete. And so we've been able to repair that to a minimum, to where at least there's not a trip hazard. Ethically Tracy Park is just it's a different character. Just the installation is unique, and so I don't really know what else to say about it other than we need to get somebody down here that actually deals with this stuff on a daily basis and help us figure this out. Next one is recreation. They've been rocking and rolling. I'm just going to cruise with this since we're already going with it. But yeah, if you have any questions, ask Kimberly. She knows everything about recreation. But yeah, we've had tons of really cool stuff going on. Of course, typically all of our basic stuff that we have, I call it basic now, but it's something that we've been continuously programming, the Toddlers on the Trail, all of that fun stuff. A couple things that we had a Father's Day gift giveaway. That was really cool. We had 2 people that won that. We also had an iced tea day with Raising Cane's. That was really cool. Something that was a little bit different and unique to the community, something that we haven't done in the past. One of the really cool things too was the Nintendo nightclub. This is a picture of the Nintendo nightclub, just one of the games that they had going on. We have one of our awesome parks team members that attended. All I could tell you is that I hear nothing but great stuff about the Nintendo nightclub, and people want to continue to see that. So that's definitely a program that we'll continue to move forward with.
I just want to say, I continue to be impressed with the variety of activities that you guys pull off. And it keeps getting better and better, so
Right. They're
thank
doing
you.
a phenomenal job. And my
Yeah.
kids are attending these things and they love them. Like my kid went to the video game night. My kid did well, of course, the gone paddling. And then the kids, I don't see it on here, the one that was an entire week long, absolutely loved it, like
Oh,
survival
the summer camp. Yep.
Yes, wonderful. They're going to do it again. Very affordable. Most of these things are free. My oldest also did the sweet tea thing, loved it. Like, it's fun. And I mean, I've never seen programs going on like this in Victoria. Like, this is the first time ever in my entire life that I've seen as much going on with programming. Like, so this is great. I think y'all are doing a great job.
Well,
I love it.
kudos to Kimberly and her team because she's the one who's been spearheading the whole recreational division and
We have
programs.
incredible recreation coordinators, and it's nuts because June, we only had 2 of them. We're down a person, and they were just
killing it.
incredible.
Yeah.
They really are.
And it's fun. Like, the thing is I have like at the foamed up party, I was driving through the park and I'm like, yep, going over there. Like, just because, like, I mean, I was already gross. So, and it was fun. I mean, it's fun. There's just a lot of activity going on, a lot of fun. I would have loved this growing up. So much variety, like you said.
Well, appreciate it. And that's something that we had talked with y'all about a couple of years back is that we needed to focus on all of these different things. And so
That's great.
it takes a minute to get going, but once it gets going, hopefully we can continue the fun that we have here in Victoria.
And that toddlers on the trail, that too, like the feedback that I get from it, like it is so loved and it's just growing and growing and growing. Like,
Great program.
Awesome. I think this is great. I mean, if this doesn't tell you what Foamed Up was all about, I don't know what picture will. That little kid looks like they had a great time. So, yeah. And then, of course, we had our City of Victoria Dodgeball, and those were our dodgeball champs that we had.
Awesome.
So, yes, a variety of everything. And honestly, this is in the annex of the community center. And we had talked with the commission about utilizing the community center more for our recreation programs and events. And this is one of those that came out of that. And so trying to use everything that we can as much as possible. So kind of with that being said, recreation, here's some little snippet of data for you. You can tell that we've hosted 20 programs with a little over 1,100 participants. We've been able to keep up with all the leagues that we've been going on. So we've had 8 leagues with about 60 teams with roughly 100, just under 100 games. One of the biggest things that I know a lot of y'all have made comments about are social media, and our social media presence is there. I'm not going to speak to those numbers, but we have an excellent team that takes care of marketing and hopefully can only go up from here. All right, here's some upcoming recreation programs. You know, I couldn't get them all on that other slide, Commissioner McGee, so I apologize for that. It was just one of those things, like, I got to get to a point where I can put them all on there, but
It's good that you have so many events and
It is.
programs going on that you can't fit them on one page. So I'm proud of you.
I agree. Thank you.
This is great.
So yes, just a quick snippet of some of the upcoming recreation programs that we have. Kimberly, I don't know if you want to speak to any one of them in particular.
What's super, super duper important, it is July, which is National Parks and Recreation Month. So, oh, golly, I didn't see your PowerPoint. My bad. I was so
We've had
excited.
a lot of stuff going on, yeah.
Yeah, so where community grows. That's really the highlight and the theme of what we're doing this month. So I think the biggest one that the staff is most excited is the Family Field Day. So if you have a family, which I know you all do, and you know families, which I know you all do, encourage them to sign up and come out for our Family Field Day. Staff is working super hard to create like gigantic size games. So like Hungry Hippo, like people size,
That's
stuff like
awesome.
that. So definitely come on out. They're working really hard, as well as everything else in July, but that one in particular.
I saw Water Twister recently, and I was
Ooh.
like, that's different. I like that.
That sounds awesome.
Twister.
Water Twister,
Sounds like fun.
right? And slippery.
Yeah, so as Kimberly had mentioned, Parks and Recreation Month is always in July by NRPA, National Recreation and Parks Association, and we were able to get a proclamation from the mayor during the last council meeting for this month. So, you know, you could see here all of the activities that we have. All of this is in addition to everything that I had showed you on the other slide, as well as, you know, what we already have as a continued or established program. So a lot of extra stuff going on. We need that third person for rec. So
When do you have to submit your budget for next year?
we're already done.
You're done? Okay.
We submit that in February.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. Golf course, just really quickly, wanted to give you the stats for last month. Last month went really well. We had a little over, close to 300 tournament rounds, about a little over 3,500 rounds total. There's some of the events that are going to be taking place this upcoming month. One thing that I would note is September 18th and 19th is going to be the greens aerification. The 18th will be the front nine, and then the 19th will be the back nine. And so if you plan on going out to the golf course, I would probably avoid those 2 days. So just as a heads up. And then one of the really cool things I think that I wanted to highlight was the Hot as Heck Scramble. This is actually going to be a school supply drive for the golf course, and so, or for the community through the golf course. And so wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of that. And it's going to probably be really hot as heck out there. So going on to the next slide, of course, the stats in a snapshot. So last month's rounds versus, well, should I say May rounds versus June rounds, and then the year prior to rounds. So you can see that we're continuing to increase our rounds from June of last year in comparison to this year. Same thing overall. We're sitting at about 1,000, little over 1,000 rounds more than we were last year at the same time. Same thing with our golf revenues. Thankfully, those mirror our round increases. So, you know, to date, we're a little over $1 million in revenue. Compared to last year, we were just shy of $1 million in revenue. So we're still continuing the upward trend. I can tell you that the new 50 carts were brought into the golf course this past week. So all of them but 8 have the GPS systems in them. So we're just waiting for those GPS systems to get out of the old carts into the new carts, and then we'll have a full cart fleet again.
Do you pay a monthly fee to have GPS on
Yes, ma'am.
those? Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
okay.
So I'm hauling the old ones out.
Yeah, it's a good site.
It is a good, yeah, that's a great day when that happens.
You're selling them?
I'm sorry?
Y'all are selling them currently?
It's a trade back.
Okay,
Yes,
gotcha.
ma'am.
Lease returns.
Please return.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wholesaled.
So they'll give us a credit on them depending on how good or bad shape they're in. So,
Okay.
yeah. So we need to take care of them. Alex had alluded to this a little bit earlier. You've started to see this coming through your email, sports tournaments and events. And so Alex is going to be overseeing, you know, the flyers as it relates to sporting events throughout the city. In addition, he'll also be sending the additional events flyer, which is basically anything that that comes as a park rental through the Parks and Recreation Department. So this isn't a full list of everything that's going on in the community. It's just a list of what we currently have record or knowledge of that's taking place in the park system. So just wanted to be clear on that. If you weren't, if you didn't really know what that additional event stood for, that's what it means. That third page that he sends is just a little bit of some detail to give you some of the information as it relates to those events.
I really like this.
I really like it too.
Good.
Yes.
What is the July 14th tapper scrap? MMA fights?
It's in it, an MMA 14 total fights at the community center that's going to happen this week. So
Have you never been?
No.
Oh, it's fun.
that's pretty.
Yeah, you want to attend that. Everybody should attend it once because you have this, and it feels real, right?
I think it is real.
It feels like what you watch on TV, right? And I think they even do tape this, but it's a real ring in the center. They put the chairs all around, so you are 360 around, all the excitement. It's a lot of
So
fun.
this is something that's been going on for years?
Probably 5 years or so.
It's been going on since I've been here.
It's great. It's
And
a
this
lot
is
of
the
fun.
only one of the year that we have?
I'm not sure.
I think so.
Did we have one before?
Sorry, I'm out of town.
I feel like it's
think
once a
there's-
year.
Yeah, I think there's one or two that happen throughout the year, but they're not back to back by any means. It's definitely spread out.
Another opportunity for sports tourism.
Right?
Mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We have really good fighters here.
blood sport.
We do. We have, I try to attend everything so I could be well-rounded in this, but it really is interesting. We have great fighters here that are, what is the big one? What's the one on TV?
UFC.
UFC. Okay, well, we have a
You got
fighter in
Bellator, you got a
town.
bunch of other.
Yeah, we have a fighter in town that is doing a UFC fight this year. So, he's somebody who would show up at Tapper Scrap, and he did a few years ago. So, and now he's at this level. So, that's impressive.
That is cool.
Yeah, yeah. So, y'all making dreams come true for people,
It's what Parks and Rec's all about, right?
right?
Making dreams come true.
One of the things that I did want to just take a moment on is our community outreach and collaboration. I've mentioned this before, but Kimberly and I attend the Queen City revitalization meetings, neighborhood revitalization meetings. That happens once a month. Most recently, there's been conversation about the park. And so I just wanted to give you just a quick rundown of some of the things that we've been talking about and also give you a quick snapshot. So the picture on the left-hand side is the Queen City / Will Rogers neighborhood that we're focusing our efforts on. Obviously, Queen City is the focal point because it's the Queen City revitalization efforts. So really, it's a bunch of organizations that are trying to get together to just bring a little more fun to the area of the Queen City, and then also try to help with some of the services that are needed over there, quite honestly. And so this border that you see on this left-hand side is really where we're focusing our efforts in trying to get surveys out and reach out to the folks who live there, who either rent there or just reside in this area. A few months ago, 3-4 months ago maybe, there was a survey that was pushed out from this group, and it asked a wide range of questions. One of those questions was just suggestions for park improvements to both areas. And so this is what came up of it. I don't have the numbers. I can give you the Excel spreadsheet that has, the tallies and what people said about the park. But to make a long story short, they really want to see their park back. The neighborhood wants to see the park be used as a park. And if you haven't been by Queen City, I would encourage you to go by and take a look. The park is very vacant. The park has a basketball court and a pavilion. We need to figure out how we can move forward with this park. Conversations that we had just a few weeks ago during this meeting were that, we just need to start investing small increments of money back into the park and try to do more programs over there. There was even a comment that was made about closing down the park. And there is actually a conversation about closing down the park. The neighborhood does not want the park closed. The community members that are there don't want the park closed. They want something else at the park, but they don't know what. They just want families there and they want the drugs out. And that's the biggest thing, is the drugs and all the bad stuff that happens that makes people not want to go to the park. And so I wanted to bring this to your attention because of the conversations that we've been having. I think what Kimberly and I are going to be doing is working on, obviously budgets for next year here in a little bit, but starting to write down some of those comments of, I want to see the park be an actual park. Well, what can we use the park for? How can we, because we know we can't just simply put a playground out there and call it done. That's not going to work. We put a playground out there, nobody's going to go out there because they don't feel safe over there, because you have certain individuals that are doing certain illegal activities that make it not attractive for a family to go play at a park. But nonetheless, we need to do something. And so I would welcome any comments or suggestions that you may have, whether that's now or whether that's later, what we can do at Queen City. But some of the things, just really quickly, we're working with the church that's right next door to create more events over there at Queen City. One of the first things that we can do. Second thing that we can do is start adding small amenities, not necessarily a playground, but maybe just smaller amenities at first. Maybe there's swing sets that need to come. Maybe there's, different amenities like that, and then ultimately a playground. If you're looking at a grand scheme of things, playground really isn't that expensive when you're talking about $100,000 playground versus a multi-million-dollar facility.
Right.
And so I think we need to look at what the low-hanging fruit is and try to pick it and see what we can do between increasing amenities there at that park and running that parallel with creating new events with the community. So again, I just wanted to bring this to your attention because this is conversations that we've been having for quite some time. And I just wanted to let you know kind of where we were at with that last meeting that we had a couple of weeks ago. So again, if there's any comments or suggestions, I would definitely welcome them.
So
The
you,
pie charts were suggestions received from the community about things that they would like to see added to the parks.
Yes, sir. And specifically just this redlined area. The survey was only sent to the folks that are inside this red line.
Okay.
Call a spade, like, the problem with that is the vagrancy of people that hang out there. I mean, they're members of the community, so they need to have some place to go, but yeah, like, if you're gonna have a park, but the thing that's keeping and holding this park back is the fact that there's homeless people doing drugs and selling drugs at this park. You drive by any time of the day, you can just see it, and then there's trash and everything that goes along with that. Like, I feel like you can put all the amenities that you want in there if you don't address the problem of why nobody's going there. Like you said, because of the safety and because of the environment that's there. It doesn't matter what you put in there, what activities you have there. Like, I'm still not going to want to go there. I'm not going to want to send my kids and my family there. I don't feel like the community's going to want to go there. So I think that's, you kind of hinted with a little bit of like working with the church or somebody to have the programs there. But I think that's what it sounds like the main thing that needs to happen is you address the issue of why people don't want to go there before you start putting in just amenities.
I agree, start with safety.
Well, and
Start making it safe.
I mean, I understand that the people say they want amenities, and I agree, there's not a lot of amenities at the park, but I just feel like even if you put those amenities in, like, if it's still dirty and unclean and unsafe, nobody's gonna use the amenities.
Well, and I think a lot of it too is getting the neighborhood on board and, making sure, and we've had some really great conversations with community members in that area, but, they state the same thing. They want their park back. And a lot of the conversation is, well, we need to call and we need to act on when we see illegal activity going on. We need to be able to be proactive about getting rid of the vagrants that are there that are causing the issues. But it's not just that easy, right? Because
Not an easy
because there's multiple factors that also play into that. And so, again, I agree. It's
a tough thing.
difficult.
And this-
But I mean, it does call for a solution that's one that's probably not really apparent to most of us. To be, what do you do? What does that mean to them who live there to get their park back? I mean, you're right. It's very complicated because there's a lot of other things down there that concentrate some of those issues in that area. And,
Yes, sir.
you're not going to displace all that, probably.
Right.
I mean, if you could, you're gonna put it someplace else. So, anyway, it's difficult, but, I'm glad to see that we're working on it and trying to come up with something that makes sense.
Are y'all talking with Christ Kitchen as well? Are they kind of like a stakeholder in all this?
Absolutely. Kimberly, you could probably speak to the community members better than I can, but I know there's a slew of folks that are involved in these meetings every month. Christ Kitchen, the Housing Authority, the Transit Authority,
Be Well Victoria.
Be Well Victoria.
Gulf Coast,
Mid-coast.
Mid-Coast,
Gulf Bend?
Gulf Bend.
You just put the two together.
It really is. When we go, so our meetings are held in Christ Kitchen, and we have a solid 24 to 30 people, and all the way to the school,
Yep.
elementary school. And that's how we were able to actually partner with the elementary school for that program that we did at the beginning of summer or the tail end of the school season. So
Play comes out.
Could this
Kudos
turn
for
into my
doing that.
graffiti park?
I'm sorry.
Legal graffiti park? Could it turn, what do we think about that?
Uh,
Like, I mean, I understand that that goes away from but I mean, like, that was something we mentioned once, that doing a graffiti park, could that become our graffiti park?
I don't.
I mean, that
I
might go
think-
against what they want, but.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely understand where you're coming from, but I don't think that would be the appropriate thing to put there.
Okay.
I think we would need to focus more on, again, kind of those family amenities and that family aspect. I mean, there's been even conversation about having some type of a community center building there, or an extended type of Christ Kitchen there. But that would also, necessitate the city to, look at that park and say, okay, is it a park? Is it the city that wants to do that? How does that work? So, in addition to that, I mean, there's no parking. So, there's
Sure.
other obstacles too that we're looking at. But anyway, just wanted to bring that to your attention.
It seems to me that I'm thinking about what other cities do. I mean, we're talking about park restoration or park revitalization, and it seems to me that the only way to go about it is to truly empower those people in the neighborhood and those families in the neighborhood to take their park back. It has to be a grassroots effort supported by the entire city services.
I
Not
agree.
just Parks and Rec, but I mean, it's everything. Because the first thing that came to my mind right behind that was a community garden, where a series of community garden plots laid out, and then you provide the people with education or how to do that. And I know but in water, but that gets people in the space, tending their garden, meeting your neighbors, goes back to that whole community hub thing, because that's the only way to drive out anything. You have to replace it with something else, right? So to replace it with people that want to be there, that are growing, and sharing and all of that, and then so that was
I
the
love that idea. That's
first idea that I had, because you've got to have people in that space that want to be in that space and that are, have a commitment, again, you know what I'm saying, but
Absolutely.
that are
Right.
there to
Better it.
support each other, and, so, I don't know how to do that, but that's my thought.
I also feel like if we had programs down there and you have a whole bunch of people going to that area, that's going to make people feel very uncomfortable that are currently there doing what they shouldn't be doing. So if we have like a COP event going on where we have the family night out or something like that, that's going to drive away those people real fast. If we have you have a bunch of people there that are city people, they're not going to want to be doing their illegal activity around there.
There might be some really cool partnership with like Christ Kitchen and the neighborhood to start some kind of a community garden. I mean, to do something in that whole,
Have you been to the new community garden?
I haven't.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know how, I'm just throwing it off the top of my head.
Sure.
I love a community garden. I have always loved community gardens. I think they're great.
Yeah, and when I lived elsewhere, but it was a giant park, but they had maybe 1 acre set aside for a community garden, and there was a wait list for a 10 by 20-foot plot. And the city provided water, it was fenced, and then but it was really a great experience, because a friend of mine, she, rented her plot for like $25 a year or whatever. But the immigrants, there were just such a diverse group of people that came out to garden, and you meet people and I don't know, it's an idea.
Okay. Noted. Well, I appreciate it. Again, I didn't want to, take this conversation, super deep or anything, but I definitely wanted to make sure that y'all were aware. And if there's anything that you could think of, feel free to reach out to me or Kimberly. Yes, ma'am.
So how do we not lose this item? So do we put it back on the agenda in 3 months, or how do we not lose this?
I was gonna say, yeah, can we go to one of those meetings? Can we,
Or,
like,
I mean,
Yeah.
can we somehow, can you
Yeah. Yeah, we
schedule
can.
it to tell us maybe in, I don't know, October, or
Yeah.
pick a month?
I mean, we can look at doing this kind of parallel with our quarterly update or something along those lines. Because it quite honestly, I mean, we've been meeting for a while. And it takes a little bit to get traction and get going, especially when you have, 25, 30 organizations that are trying to work, in tandem with each other. So we'll do a
I
quarterly
would
report if
recommend you
you're
put it
okay.
on the quarterly report. Is everybody, that way
Yes.
we don't lose it?
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And also, can we find out when that next meeting is? So maybe we
Yeah,
can start
absolutely.
attending some of those meetings?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Well, I appreciate your suggestions and comments, and we'll definitely make sure that we get that out to you. And that way, if you want to attend, you can. Just please let me know. We don't have it, so that way we don't have a quorum. The only other thing I wanted to touch base on real quickly is the projects. This one you've seen multiple times. We've already talked about the SFC report, so we're good there. Just a friendly reminder that the active transportation master plan is still ongoing. I don't really have much of an update for you on the duck pond, so here's the picture that we had last time. I can tell you that the lights on the boardwalk had finally got installed, and so the electrical, for the most part, is pretty wrapped up. We are starting to fill the pond. So the pond's been starting to get filled since last week, and it's going to take a minute for us to fill it. But we did have to kick back our pier installation because the pond has to be pretty much full before we install that pier. And so what we're doing right now is looking at an August timeline. Pier's already been built. It's ready. It just needs to be installed. And so we're pushing that to August so that way we have enough time to be able to fill up the pond itself. The contractor has gone over there and basically smoothed everything out, and they've put down hydro seed. And so if you see any green material over there, that's what that is. It's the hydro seed. And the only other component that a couple other components that we're missing is the gazebo. The gazebo is the big one. That one I need to touch base on with our consultant on, because we're probably right at September timeline before we get that installed. That's a manufacturing issue. That's something that we've already ordered back in late February, early March. So just a manufacturing issue that we're working on, but nonetheless, we're just waiting on that to be delivered and then installed and erected.
Jason, is there
Yes,
a
sir.
punch list on this that's going to be completed before y'all sign off?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes,
And
sir.
who's going to be responsible for that punch list?
It'll probably be Kimberly.
Okay.
Yes, sir. In addition to that, we also have the consultant that'll also have that punch list. That consultant, Brent Luck, is also a construction manager that we've hired him for. And so that's part of his contract as well, is to go through. Same thing with the dog park. Yes, sir.
So Jason, I assume the fish to be stocked is the very last thing?
Yes, ma'am. That's going to be something that we'll have to wait for this upcoming fiscal year. That, in addition to some of the aquatic vegetation that's going to be installed, that'll be right there along the edge. There are a couple things that we're waiting on. Contractor is supposed to redo some of that asphalt in the front, and also on the left-hand side of the basically where the gazebo parking lot's at. So we'll have some asphalt that's going to be redone by the contractor. That's a change order that we're able to find money through some of our other funding sources for. So we do, yes, sir.
Go ahead, finish your.
Oh, I was going to say, so we do have some additional monies that were reallocated to this or allocated to this project. Just as Aaron had mentioned about the sign, that'll be another thing that we add to it. So we do have some funding available for some of these smaller items that we're going to add to it to make sure that it's a legitimate project when it's all done. Yes, sir.
Have you reached out to Ducks Unlimited about any grants, like the local chapter? Because they do like wetlands restoration. Anytime you're doing anything that's like specifically duck habitat, National will give grants for, so.
Okay, no, we have not. Can y'all help me remember to reach out to Katie on that and see? We'll go ahead and get our grant administrator to see what that's about and see how we can potentially apply for something.
I've seen several times what happened to the ducks. They're at the river. by the
Yes,
way.
yeah, that's exactly
So
right.
I've been seeing them everywhere, and so yes, they're at the river. They're living their blessed life. So
Awesome.
they're good.
Well, that's all with the duck pond, unless you have any other questions for me on that. I know it's a big item, so still scheduled for October of '23 to be completed.
In the future, when we make sidewalks, can we make them the wider path, please? The
Yeah.
wide path sidewalks, anytime we're putting those in, just because it's really congested when you're trying to pass people,
Sure.
especially if you have strollers and stuff like that.
That's something that we're honestly talking about right now. What's the difference between a 5 foot, 6 foot, 8 foot, and 10 foot, and where do you put those? Because it does make a difference sometimes. So this current project has 6 foot and 5 foot, and then a 7.5 foot for the boardwalk. So there is some width differences as you walk around, but noted.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And then the dog park, this is, of course, the aerial that I showed you last time, but here are some new pictures if you haven't been by. The picture on the right-hand side is the one that I showed you previously, but the picture on the left actually shows the decorative fencing that'll be going in all along the front and that middle area. Just another picture of it here. That picture on the left-hand side with the tree in it is where the timeout area is going to be at, so it's kind of in that middle section of the park. And then the picture on the right-hand side, you can see that decorative fencing going all the way down.
That's
to
the
the entryway.
entrance, like looking out towards the entrance?
Yes, sir. That's looking out towards the entryway. The picture on the right.
And that's at the small dog side that we're on.
Correct, yes.
I think it's really exciting because we have
Sorry.
the dog park coming and we have the duck pond being done. Like you see things happening in the park right now. And then with all the programs, I mean, you can't say that nothing's being done.
Thank you. We try.
Good job, guys.
There's the maypole.
Yes.
There's the main.
We try.
Yeah.
Yes, there's the maypole. You can see that we have that concrete that goes around it. We made an adjustment on the fly for that, and so
Good
it's
job.
something that was a little bit different than what was in the drawing. It basically looked like we needed to incorporate it better, so that's what we did. The picture on the left-hand side is just another picture of the middle fence looking towards the front.
When you go to walk down to where the boat exit is, there's the sidewalk has imprints from the dogs, squirrels, raccoons, whatever, like little critter paw prints everywhere. It's really adorable. Like, it would be really cool to see paw prints in some of that sidewalk around there.
We'll see what
We can do, yes. But I just think
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
really cute because it happened naturally, but it looks really good. Like, I mean, people comment on it all the time.
Awesome. We're definitely excited for it. This is still scheduled for, it can be opened up in September, but again, if we're waiting for the signage, I feel like that's going to be an October timeframe. We can do a soft opening in August and do a ribbon cutting in October, but yeah, that's TBD. That's it, really. We did have the Parks and Recreation Commission list of the projects, but I'm not sure if y'all want to go through that or not. I know that was Commissioner Repka's.
Can we just?
I'd prefer not to.
Yeah, I told her I'd ask if we could just make that an agenda item for next commission meeting. So
Absolutely. My apologies for that. We had it on the agenda or on the minutes for us to put that on there, and we, for some reason, did not. So I apologize.
So where are you going to work?
Yeah, so the 900-pound gorilla here.
Yeah,
So let's talk about that.
Sustainability, huh?
Are we off air?
We officially closed? Do we need to close here? Well, congratulations.
Well,
appreciate
yeah,
it.
we can adjourn and you can talk to us.
Sure,
Yes, all right.
But
So
before
wait,
then,
one more thing.
thank
So
you.
Wait.
with regards to this list,
Yes,
can we
ma'am.
please put it as the first item on the agenda next month?
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Team, did y'all hear that? Can we please
Make
put that
notes.
on the first one? Thank you.
And before we cut out, like formally, you've done an exceptional job. You did great. We loved having
Thank
you as the director. I mean,
Yes.
it should be noted. It's
It's-
been a
yes.
pleasure to work with you. I've learned so much.
Yeah.
It absolutely has. So
Thank you.
with that, we'll adjourn and let him tell us what he wants to
I
tell
make a
us.
motion to adjourn the meeting?
second.
All in
All
favor?
in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Talk to us.
I